Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 20 of the Mean Joe Huddle. We got a big group today. Let's just quickly go around and introduce everyone. Joining us is James Jimmy White. We've got Anthony Taylor. As always, DJ Knob, Mike Bluline. And new with us this week, Jayla Garner and Bree Eason. They're new with Mean Joe and have a lot of awesome things to share with you. I'm Stephanie Keogh. For our favorite part of the huddle today, what we're drinking, we're skipping right over that part because we have some serious stuff to talk about. It's going to help you continue to advertise and market your small business, medium business, large business on social media as we get towards this crazy fall season with all of the pandemic news, the political news. It's a freaking shitstorm out there. And it's going to be really difficult to make sure you're navigating yourself clear to getting your ads to the people that really need to see them so that you can keep generating those leads and keep your business functioning. So probably the first question is let's go to Anthony. What is the biggest thing that these platforms are trying to do ahead of this election and COVID season?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great place to start. And I think the underlying tone that you're going to find across the board, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, any of them, is they're looking for more transparency and a lot more. They want to essentially avoid any bad actors from entering into the marketplace. Now, for anybody who's paying attention to the really boring C-SPAN, Capitol Hill conversations between the tech giants and Congress. Essentially, the stance of tech giants, whether it be, again, Facebook, those, is we want to promote freedom of speech and stay out of it, but we don't want to promote false speech. So in a great example of that, Facebook, in an interview with one of their product leads for Instagram, they brought up, how are you say you're going to promote participation in this upcoming election. How are you going to do that by also eliminating fake news or false news around how to vote, where to register to vote, or best practices when it comes to voting remotely, as it looks as though that's probably going to be the climate we're going to be in the coming months. And his response was, we'll make sure the right people get the right information. So a very vague answer, a great non-answer, if you will. But the true response, the action items that have come out of that, if you've been on Facebook or Instagram lately, there's probably at the top those little banners that tell you, make sure you've registered to vote, and then give you the opportunity to go in and then actually register from within the app. So the biggest thing is Twitter is more active role in, for lack of better terms, censoring what information's going on out there. But Facebook's more taking the approach of, if you're gonna say something, if you're gonna be on the platform, we're not gonna censor you directly, but we're gonna try and drown you out by having this consistent message of the right way, or the right information, the right things to do. One of the things that, as marketers, this team, we like to use probably just as much as any other digital marketing tool is the Facebook ads library. So for those business owners who don't know where that is or what it is, it's facebook.com/ads/library. So essentially, coming out of the 2016 election, what Facebook did was they said, we're going to become more transparent as to who's advertising what. So if you go to that platform, I have it pulled up right now, you can actually see who's running political ads. And in order to run political ads, you actually have to go through a more strenuous screening process. So That means currently to run a political ad on Facebook, you have to send your picture of the front and back of your driver's license. It has to be connected to your personal Facebook account. And then you get sent a postcard in the mail with a verification number that you have to go in and verify your account. So little things as far as making sure individuals are verified and they're not falsely promoting multiple brands at the time.
Right. So a lot of these changes started being talked about, maybe legislated, maybe regulated after the 2016 election. And we've had, a kind of dry run in 2018 with how's everybody doing? That's a good benchmark. And now coming up to 2020, it seems like that's where they're really putting in place some of these new things to help make sure that random people can't place advertising that is false or misleading, right? That kind of the gist of it?
Correct. And for most businesses out there, a lot of the changes aren't going to operationally affect you. So for instance, within the last 2 weeks, there was a policy released by Facebook that one ad account couldn't be running over 1,000 different ads at one time. So even if you're Nike, you're probably not running that many different ads and ad variations. If you are, your creative department hates you.
I'm trying to wrap my head around more than 1,000 variations on a single ad message. That's just not going to happen.
So, little things like that where theoretically it should ward off bad actors, but it's not going to affect local Main Street business owner who has found success with Facebook advertising, Twitter advertising, etc.
So all of that, everything we've just talked about is paid advertising on social media, right?
Correct.
So any changes that people need to be aware of for the unpaid content?
So as far as unpaid content, there's no publicly released documentation that I've been made aware of as to major changes there. Now, statistically speaking, it's changed considerably. So just in the retail space alone, since March, top performing pages posted 3.3 times less per week than they did pre-pandemic. So what that means is they realized that they were getting more performance posting less and being available to engage rather than inundating people with content. And even within the campaigns that we manage here, and Jimmy was really crucial in identifying this, posting just because there's content out there isn't always the answer. Posting because you have quality content that's curated, that's purposeful and creating an action is more and more important, especially as you think buying behaviors over the last couple of months and user behaviors over the last couple of months. People are spending more time on social media, but I think it's more meaningful time. They don't want noise. They want to get to, there's so much noise everywhere else. Let's get to the heart of it and don't annoy me with all the other stuff.
Right. So, Jimmy, I'm going to ask you to talk about that a little more since Anthony just called you out on it. But I think he identified, and I don't know that I could have put it into words until I heard him say it. I know when I'm on social media now, I'm looking for information and updates on all of the stuff that's going on right now, because there's a shit ton of stuff going on right now. So I don't want to see random, cute photo of a bracelet. I want to see actual content. So how did you figure out that that's what people were looking for?
Well, I've done research and talked to I've listened to other experts in the industry. Like, I'm sure this has been brought up a bunch, but Brian Dean is always a big advocate for quality over quantity. And I know, like, as far as social media goes, most brands or most people are more interested in informative content because they're on social media, or they're at least following a brand to solve a problem. There's a few exceptions, like a lot of the fast food companies, they have an entertainment value because they're calling people out on Twitter, or they have funny tweets. But as far as like your average business, most people come to your social media to learn about it and be informed. And if you are commenting on kind of things that are going around, that's interesting as far as like it tells you kind of the personality of the business, but it doesn't explain to me as someone unfamiliar with your brand what you are talking about. And just like filling in blank spaces with commentary that might not be about your business is just making it harder for me to find the useful pieces. In addition to the way like the algorithms work, since Facebook and Twitter and Instagram have continued to make branded content that is not being boosted or paid for more difficult to find, like it doesn't benefit you to just put out as much stuff as possible, because you're watering yourself down in that aspect. So I'm very much of the philosophy of, if you're going to share something about your company, it should be of high quality and help answer a question and solve a problem, where just like jumping in onto certain topics is less helpful than it may appear. Like just talking for the sake of talking is not as beneficial, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. So I think you addressed the commenting on random things well, but I would even go so far as to say maybe in the beginning of this year, a company might have had, here's the 50 photos and we're scheduling 2 per week, and here's 5 videos that we're going to schedule each month, and we're going to loop those things through just to fill up those days. Every Tuesday we do this, every third Wednesday we show this, to have something plugged in on the calendar. So what you're telling us is, unless that something solves a question or a problem that a potential customer might have, just skip it, right?
Yeah, more and more like what I've been seeing and people have been posting about is that more content does not necessarily mean better. And that's doubly so if it's not valuable content.
Awesome. So we talked a little Facebook, Instagram, same rules as Facebook?
Yeah, I really think the same rules across. They're both owned by Facebook. And to follow up a little bit with what Jimmy was saying, especially one when it comes to YouTube and Twitter, and it's so YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, these 3 platforms have this feature in that post notifications. So if it's super, super important, you're providing immense value to your following, and there's an opportunity to create or encourage them to add post notifications on your company page. That's very powerful. A lot of YouTube creators do that because there's like this myth of being, or idea of being shadow banned, specifically on, Instagram, YouTube. The company doesn't like me, so my content doesn't show up. So post notifications negate that in a way, because every time you post content, your audience that has post notifications turned on will be notified of that content being posted, and then you're increasing your reach as far as that goes.
So that's going to help you with a user who maybe looked at your company, might be evaluating you and 2 or 3 others, and wants to learn more. So if you turn on those post notifications, when you post something, they're going to get that notification. You can then give them helpful content instead of random video of you talking to your phone.
Right. In the end user is the one who would have to turn on those post notifications. So it takes, you have to have a lot of brand credibility in order to ask your followers to do that. But it is extremely impactful when you do. And I think common thread theme throughout different platforms outside of, just Facebook and Instagram, YouTube and Twitter have put more emphasis on quality over quantity. And I know we've harped on that a little bit, but YouTube, kind of the ideal video length, anywhere in between more than 10 minutes seems to be this like magic number of, wow, this is long form content that people care about, that somebody put more time into editing and producing and creating. So we're going to add benefit to it, and they give higher reach to that. Changes within, so if you produce a video outside of YouTube, which Stephanie, Mike, you guys can talk for years, I think, on the different video production techniques and different platforms that are out there. But if you produce it outside of YouTube, bringing it into the YouTube studio editor, and then adding things like tags at the end of your video that link to other videos, links within your video, those types of things, YouTube seems to reward accounts that do that, which again makes sense to the basis of what they're trying to do. Get people to spend more time on their platform and go down that rabbit hole of 35 YouTube videos later, and I'm watching a cat play piano.
That's not where you started?
Also, it's like 2 a.m.
The time stamp's always important.
So that makes sense to me, because if someone is taking the time to create this longer form content, it's hard to just go on a rant about, whatever upset you that day for more than 10 minutes, right? So if it's more than 10 minutes, there's probably some meaty content to it. If it's linked to other pieces, then you're not some rando who's ranting into his phone, right?
Right.
So again, more credence. So on top of providing people a way to stay on the platform longer, YouTube's also factoring in that might be more valid or potentially more trustworthy content. So they're going to boost that a little.
Yes.
Okay.
An additional strategy that's always been a strategy and this is a common theme across all the social media platforms. I'm going to steal Kevin Hart's line, and I don't think he was the original one to do this, but he said, everybody wants to be famous, ain't nobody want to put in the work. Everybody wants to have a social media strategy. Nobody wants to deal with the social media engagement. Whether you're running for president of the United States or trying to run a shoe repair shop in Chagrin Falls, Ohio, you're going to have haters out there, people who don't like your brand, who you are, what you do, the fact that you have a green rug in your showroom and they think it should be purple. That's bound to happen. Some of the worst, so the three worst things you could do: number one, ignore it. Never, especially when someone's voicing a concern and it's on a platform that's meant to be conversational, ignoring it's not the solution. Two, hiding it. So that, especially on Facebook, hurts you algorithmically. It shows that you're not a good member of the community. And three, deleting it, which is kind of the big red nuclear button, which again hurts you algorithmically because you're not being a good steward of the community. I would say the time frame you should shoot for as a business is to try and respond within 2 hours. And to give some statistics around what not responding does. If you don't respond and someone has a bad experience with your business, they're 35%. There's a 35% chance they'll just go to the next social media platform and bash you on the next one. So you forward them off on Facebook, but now you got a Twitter troll. So don't expect ignoring. Like, there's statistics behind ignoring them doesn't create a solution.
35% more likely.
Correct. Yeah.
That's not.
So, are you saying now? I know you're not saying this, but I guess could you elaborate on maybe what not to say to a person that had a rough time? Or doesn't like your carpet, I guess.
So some of the worst things you can do, if you are going to respond, which again, always good to respond, having a super passive stance or vague language or fake apologies. I think, as far as the brands, if you guys think about the brands that you follow on social media, they're very authentic. They are what they are unapologetically. And that's part of what people love about those brands. So if there's a customer who, let's say they had a bad experience, providing a faux apology and just stretching them along to say that you engaged with them will just extend the length of the issues you're having with that customer, and you're not going to rectify the situation. That's an opportunity, actually, I would say, on the flip side of that. If you have someone who's had an issue, being able to address them directly. Hey, look, we messed up in that situation. I'm trying to make it right. I'm going to call you in 20 minutes. Look for a phone call from 440-247-8200, and we'll walk you through how we're going to make this right. That's a huge opportunity, as other consumers are going to see that and say, wow, they screwed up, but they made it right. So we trust them. We want to take our business there.
So what's really striking me, and like I know this intuitively, but once you start talking about it, the difference in advertising on social media versus advertising in traditional sources. In traditional sources, it's all about you and how great you are, right? And on social media, it's more about how you fit into the community that you're trying to build there, how you can be part of and helpful to that community, right? The point of advertising, posting on social media is to engage with other people. So if you're not engaging with them, you're kind of in the wrong place, and maybe you should buy a billboard.
And speaking to Anthony's kind of like faux apology thing, I mean, I think we've all seen Delta Airlines or some airline on Twitter like saying to like some celebrity that had a bad flight, please DM us and we'd love to get this solved for you. And then if you just read the comment section there, it's just everybody attacking because, yeah, it was like obviously a fake apology because everyone hates airlines and all that stuff. And I mean, we've even seen in the local Northeast Ohio area too, is of course like we have the most passionate fans in the world and stuff, and some of them are business owners, so when someone has a bad time, they get extremely defensive, and that looks even worse.
So, again, to put some statistics behind this, and this is dated, this is data from 2017. Sprout Social posted this as part of their social index. Consumer reaction if a brand responds well to their social complaint. So if they have a good positive interaction with the business after complaining, there's a 45% chance they will share that conversation online. There's a 37% chance that they'll buy from you again, and there's only a 6% chance that they'll still boycott you. So the benefits heavily outweigh the negatives.
I'd like to see statistics on, and maybe you've seen them and I'm putting you on the spot and you don't have them in front of you, on if you don't solve your customer's problem, how much likelier they are to share that with the rest of their social media following. I got to think, all you've got to do is read your own feed to know if a company screws up, that's 100% getting shared, right? So those authentic, real, trying to help them address their issues is super, super important.
I agree with that. And I think I've had a lot of success venting on Twitter, saying something about a company, and they get back to you so fast. I don't care how long you're on hold with customer service. You'll be on the phone all day. As soon as you send out a tweet saying you're unhappy or something wasn't correct, there in your inbox, we'll message you right away. We'll take care of this. And I just think it's faster results. I mean, I don't think a lot of people spend that time on the phone anymore. Like, everyone is so, like, trying to get their social media, and they don't want any negative comments, or, trying their best to make sure everything seems positive on their end to keep all of their customers. But I have definitely gotten a lot of help just from using Twitter.
Well, yeah, and I think that, I've seen it too, where the comment doesn't even have to be, oh my gosh, company A sucks, don't ever buy from them. The comment can be, man, I really wish company A did a better job with this, then I'd for sure buy from them again. And then all of a sudden company A is responding, saying, hey, that's a great idea. How can we help you make this happen? Or, something like that.
I definitely agree.
Right.
And Bree, I love the fact that you brought Twitter up as the platform you go to when creating, when having that commentary and reaching out to businesses, because I think that's where a lot of businesses go wrong, and that's an opportunity for them, is that they post the same content across all platforms.
Yeah, exactly.
Twitter being instantaneous, I mean, it's a timeline feed. That's a great customer service hub. I mean, in what better way? It's like standing on top of a stage and have people throwing stuff at you, or throwing insults at you, and you being able to actually go back and say, no, you got me wrong. Here's what really happened, or here's what we're going to do.
Honestly, it works.
Brought that Twitter into
it really works.
Yeah.
That's a godsend. I love it. And especially, like, a lot of us want, the answers right away. We're so impatient because we're so used to having all of the information right on our fingertips, and we just want the satisfaction right away. And that's probably why I do use Twitter. Good point for pointing that out, but I really can see that now.
I think social media is also, like, there's a lot of social which incentivizes the companies to respond faster, because, like, if you're doing a customer service call, no one's going to see that beyond you and your exchange with the company. But if you post it on social media, a lot of people can see it, and it will impact their perception of your brand negatively. So the incentive for companies to get on there and provide a solution is much higher, which I think is why we see so many companies just try and respond as quick as they can.
Well, so I'm back up what Jimmy's saying, and then going back to some of Anthony's earlier points. It's like in a typical retail setting, if the one customer comes into a store and starts pitching a fit about the product they got shipped wasn't the right product, and this isn't what I wanted, and you messed it up, and it was late. And if they're throwing a fit in the store, that customer, that salesperson, other people working there, and maybe like 2 or 3 other customers are seeing it, right? But even in that situation, the business owner's goal is to solve that person's problem as quickly as they can, if for no other reason than to stop the crazy person from yelling at them in their store, right?
Yeah.
So now when you take the type of social media platforms, now you've got that crazy person yelling to hundreds and thousands of people, if not more. And so your response should be the same. How can we help fix this problem? Fix the problem, not just pacify, but fix this problem so that this customer is now satisfied and not screaming at us in front of thousands of people. Right? So okay, back to our original topic. I just want to make sure we're covering all our bases here. Are there certain words, phrases related to election or COVID that to avoid or make sure we include?
So there's no statistical evidence to back this up, but allegedly mentioning the pandemic, COVID, will just kill our reach on this post anyways. Mention of any of those things on YouTube supposedly decreases your reach. Facebook and Instagram, I don't know for a fact if Twitter's done this, but both Facebook and Instagram have hired thousands of content auditors. So they're the nameless, faceless police department, if you will, that when somebody reports an issue, they look into it. So, even for a while towards the beginning of COVID, they slow actually reviewing a lot of ad placements or ad submissions, or even getting back as far as like issues if somebody reported a post. They've gotten faster with it just because they've hired on all these extra people. But as far as electoral, best thing you can do, there are words to avoid. There aren't really any, but the best thing you can do is just being honest and upfront. I don't know specifically all the back end of the financials of, obviously, I think you need to report to whoever you need to report to that you're running a political ad, and it needs to be tagged properly on the platform in order to get approved, or else they will flag it and deny it. But just making sure you have all those pieces in order before you launch the campaign. It's a lot easier in this circumstance to ask permission than ask for forgiveness. And I think just on top of that, just something to keep in mind that recently came out, Instagram and Twitter just went through a massive round of account deactivations. So if you were using bots, farm accounts, I'm trying to think of other names that people use for these. Basically, if you were using scraper accounts if you're using those previously to bolster your engagement numbers, manipulate the data to benefit you, again, Instagram, Twitter just went through, deactivated a ton of accounts, blocked accounts, really trying their best to make sure that all the profiles that are on those platforms are legitimate. So yes, it's going to take you more time to do it the right way, but it's a lot easier to be safe and do it the right way than cut corners, and now all of a sudden the account that you've grown to 250,000 followers on Instagram is now no longer yours.
I think that the key word that we keep coming across here is authentic. Like, you have to, your message, your words, your communication has to be authentic, but you have to be an actual authentic user on these platforms in order to keep acting. You can't be active if they kill your account.
And Mike, you've got a couple examples of this. I don't know in how much granular detail we want to go, but I think it's important for a business if they have a stance, if they're going to be active in the promote a specific political agenda, they need to be comfortable knowing that might not make some people happy, and if that's the one you're going to take, you have to be willing to give up some of those potential customers, because before, maybe if you made a comment in a one-to-one conversation with somebody or in a closed door situation, it didn't get out, but now we're talking about the potential for it to have unlimited reach.
Right.
So maybe don't always have the owner have access to all the social media accounts that they want.
That was something I wanted to touch on, and I think as a business, any business, you just want as many customers as possible. You just want to grow so that everybody loves you. So the big rule of thumb is do not be polarizing. So, like radio hosts, it's great to be polarizing. Just people love you or they hate you, and it's awesome. And that gets like looks and like people hate listening to you. It's great. As a business, you do not want people to hate your business. And obviously, when it comes to politics, it's a two-party system. You're basically going to cut off 50% of your, customers. So don't be polarizing. I mean, of course, if you have that belief, go ride or die with, those people. And, they probably will stick with you, but you're losing a lot more than you think.
And it's so easy to have hindsight 2020. So the example that comes to mind for me is, I believe it was Pepsi. It would have been Pepsi or Coca-Cola, but there's a picture of Rosa Parks standing in front of a public transit bus after the bus boycott. And on the front of the bus is a big ad for Pepsi. And the point that was made by the presenter, who I believe probably in like the early 2000s, he's like, why would Pepsi promote on a racially divisive tool, something that was being used as part of this divide? And the reality is, at the time, the media buyer from Pepsi probably were like, oh, it's going to reach a ton of people. It's going to be super effective. This is awesome. Let's do it. And now we open up our history books and we're like, Pepsi, how could you be so dumb as to overlook what that's going to do? So it's hindsight 2020, but if you're going to slip up, if you're going to make a mistake, either one, have a heartfelt, authentic apology and address it directly. It's the shortest way through a storm is through it. But if you're not apologetic about it, and that's who you are, and that's what you want to promote, and that's what you want your business to be known as, again, you are going to raise some red flags, and you might turn off some people. But again, it's something that you're going to have to go through to get to the other side of.
All right, so action items as we get close to wrapping this up. If you are random widget business and you need to create some social media content and you want to make sure that it is seen this fall, you are going to avoid putting in potentially sensitive topics or keywords. You're going to keep it focused on your brand, and you're going to make sure that it solves some issue, question, problem for your potential customer.
Right?
Did I miss anything?
Easy as that, right? Everybody can do it.
I don't know. It sounds easy. I might ask someone to double check it a time or two. All right. Anyone else got anything more they want to add?
I was just going to say that it's definitely in your benefit as a business to avoid producing political content on the grounds that you will not be able to compete with the political parties financially. It's just going to be more expensive. It's going to be more expensive regardless because the competition is going to be higher. And so it's definitely in your best interest to be laser focused on your values and what you can provide, as opposed to anything resembling political content from a financial standpoint.
So basically, if you have money that you want to throw away, then you should try to compete against those.
Yeah.
And if you have money that you want to throw away, we might be able to help you see a return on it.
Donate it to a super PAC, like whatever, just send it.
It's just buddy. All right, we're gonna call that a wrap for week 20 of the Mean Joe Huddle, and we'll see everybody back here next week.
Bye.